This is a video about why Christianity is losing, why we're not having the influence over our culture that we were meant to have, and why we're losing our battle against the world system and what we can do to fix it. And I'm going to start by looking at the Great Commission. In the Great Commission, Jesus said, "Go make disciples of all nations." And just pause for a moment and think about those words. Make disciples of all nations. What does it mean to make a disciple of a nation? What does a discipled nation look like? Well, pause and think about it. I've written down a few things and want to share them with you. To begin with, our hurts are healed. We're not carrying around like the bitterness and shame and anxiety and invalidation and all of these junk in our heads, all of these pain lies, these messages that sabotage our lives. And instead, we're deeply at peace with God, with ourselves, and with one another. And the result is healed marriages, happy marriages, happy families. That's the norm rather than the exception. No one is diminished or devalued or marginalized or excluded. Everyone is nice to each other. As one person in my community said, we are unconsciously kind to one another. No one slips through the cracks. Jesus is the center of our lives. There's no fighting over theology or politics or the color of the church carpet. There's no protest marches because we don't need them. We all sit down at the table and talk through our differences. And when we're done, we like and respect and trust and love everyone at the table. We care about each other. There's no more poverty. There's no family broken down on the side of the road with in a panic because their car doesn't work and they don't have any money to fix it. There's none of that stuff because we've learned God's heart about caring for one another. There's no injustice. Courts are empty. Jails are empty. They're just not needed. There's no one is cheating or manipulating or conning or bullying or stealing or gaslighting or extorting or violating or harming other people in any way. Everything is different. It's like heaven on earth. And that's the Great Commission. Go make disciples of all nations. And I just feel the need to add a footnote here. I'm not talking about taking over politics and forcing Christianity down everybody's throat and somehow this top-down control that everybody freaks out about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about individuals, you and me, people voluntarily saying yes to Jesus and watching what unfolds when we give him the real estate of our hearts, watching what unfolds when he gets to do what he wants to do, and watching marriages change, families change, communities change, the culture changing, and yes, then the politics changes and the nation changes. But it's bottom up, it's not top down. And so my question to you is, how are we doing with that? And I think the answer is not so good. And, the question is why? Why are we losing our battle against this evil world system? And why are we losing the war? Well, I've identified 4 reasons, and I think they're the 4 critical reasons that we're losing, and they're the key to turning this thing around. Number 1, we have a mindset problem. We have this crazy idea that this is the way it's supposed to be. We have this crazy idea that the world is a mess and there's nothing we can do about it. The best we can do is put up with it and know that we have this ace up our sleeve, that we've got this ticket out of here, that when we die, we get out of this mess and we go to heaven. That is the mindset. And that is a problem. We are acting as though the nations are supposed to disciple us instead of us, we, the people of God, discipling the nations. We're acting as though our culture gets to tell us how to think, how to behave, and what to value instead of us telling the culture by our lives, by our examples, us inspiring the culture on what to think, what to value, and how to behave. And this mindset that this is just the way it is and we got to put up with it, that's not what Jesus said. He said, go make disciples of all nations. He said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. He said, I will be with you always, even to the end of the world. Jesus does not think small, and Jesus doesn't need to think small. He's the Lord of all, and we are with him. And if God is for us, who can be against us? Yes, our world is messed up, but God is fixing things, and we get to help. That's the essence of the Great Commission. So one of the symptoms of this mindset problem is that the enemy lulls us to sleep. We get so busy with stuff that doesn't matter that we can't fit one more thing onto our plate. And we have this crazy notion that the Great Commission is one more thing. It's like this extra burden that gets put on us. And that's not the truth. Okay? It's not the truth. The truth is, the Great Commission is our reason for being here. It's why we're here. It defines every waking moment of our lives. The symptom of this mindset problem is we become like the man in Matthew 25 who buried his talent in the mud and thought that would be okay with God. Okay, number two, second reason why we are losing the war is we have a message problem. Number one, a mindset problem. Number two, a message problem. We have this message that we've put out there for the last 50, 75 years. Pray this prayer and you get a free ticket to heaven. That's all that's required. And guess what? People are smart enough to figure out if that's all that's required, that's all that's required. I can check this box. I'm okay with God. Now I can forget about God and go on with my life. And that's not the Great Commission. That's not what God intended. If you belong to a Christian tradition that doesn't prioritize the sinner's prayer, all of these Christian traditions, or many of them, have this problem. I went through confirmation, so therefore I'm okay. I went to confession, therefore I'm covered. We have this myth of arrival. I was baptized, so I'm good. I took communion or whatever. And these are never intended to be the end point of our journey. These are just milestones along the way. And so here's the problem. We prioritized how the grace of God gets us forgiven, and we've forgotten how the grace of God transforms our lives. We've forgotten. Most of us don't even know how that works. I didn't know. I didn't know for many years till God graciously took me through some experiences to teach me how that works. So we have a message problem. Number three, we have a memory problem. Okay, and what we've forgotten is this. Jesus prayed for us. In John 17, Jesus prayed for us. Matter of fact, there's only one prayer in the Bible recorded where Jesus prays for you and me, those of us who are followers of Jesus today in the 21st century. And there's only one prayer, and it's recorded in one place, and it's John 17. And Jesus had one and only one request in that prayer. Do you know what that request is? His request was that we be one. And how are we doing with that? Okay, not so good. Christians have bought into the lie that our culture is selling. They bought into the lie that if you vote differently than I do, you are my enemy. If you think differently than I do, then you are my enemy. If you look different than I do, then you are my enemy. All of these are lies. They're lies that the culture sells, and we cannot afford to buy them. And I tell you, read Revelation chapter 3. All of this makes Jesus want to puke. Okay? I'm just being straight with you because the Bible is straight with us. We fight over politics. We fight over theology. We fight over the color of the church carpet, and God hates it all. We are here to show our world a higher path. We're here to show our world that it's possible to disagree and still like each other. It's possible to disagree and still respect each other. It's possible to disagree and still trust each other. It's possible to disagree and still love each other. And ending the divide among the people of God is one of the top priorities in the heart of God. As long as we stay divided, we lose. It's the enemy's strategy, and right now, we, the people of God, are being duped by it. So, a mindset problem, a message problem, a memory problem, and number 4, a metrics problem. If you don't like alliteration, sorry, I couldn't resist it. Okay, metrics problem. What are the metrics for church success? Very simple. How many butts are in the pew and how many coins are in the coffer? Okay? It's all about attendance and offerings, money and people. And the problem is that attendance and offerings by itself does not move the needle on the kingdom of God at all. As a matter of fact, when we focus on attendance and offering and make that our sole focus, we make it acceptable and even desirable for people to show up in church, to plunk some money in the plate, and to go home and to think that they've done their Christian duty. It's just a whole mess in the way that we're thinking, the way the church is thinking, and we really have to change our metrics. So what moves the needle for the kingdom of God? What moves the needle on the kingdom of God is unleashing the kingdom potential of God's people. And I want to speak to pastors here for a moment, but if you're not a pastor, you can listen in. I wrote some things down. To what extent have you deployed the kingdom potential of your congregation? Do you know who's sitting in front of you when you stand up to preach? Do you know what they're capable of when God gets a hold of their lives? And I'm not talking about twisting somebody's arm so that they'll volunteer to serve in the nursery. And I'm not even talking about getting your people to invite other people to church. I mean, there's a place for nursery duty. There's a place for inviting people to church. I mean, all of that is good. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but that's not what I'm talking about. Okay? What I'm talking about is, what is their mission? Why has God put them here on earth? What is their assignment? What role do they have in fulfilling the Great Commission? How can you help them not bury their talent in the mud, but take it out and multiply it for the Master? How can you help them fulfill the Great Commission and fulfill their God-given mission? And here's something else to think about. 100 million Americans have walked away from church. But many of them have not walked away from Jesus. And Do you have any inkling of what the kingdom potential is in those 100 million people? I mean, they alone could transform our world. They alone could disciple the nations. You know, how do we get them not to bury their talents in the mud, but instead take them out and multiply them? How do we unleash the kingdom potential of these 100 million people? So, anyway, there you have it. Why are we losing the battle? Number one, we have a mindset problem. We've ignored or forgotten what the Great Commission commands and what it promises. Number two, we have a message problem. We've neglected to proclaim how the grace of God transforms lives, families, communities, and cultures. And number three, we have a memory problem. We've allowed ourselves to be divided. And number four, we have a metrics problem. We've failed to unleash the kingdom potential of God's people. And so the good news is all of this is fixable. I'm working to fix it. And I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm starting an online community that's devoted to fixing these things. I have a tool for identifying your Christian superpower. I have a resource, 12 ways you can change your world. Soon, maybe today, I plan to post a resource in my community, in our community, about identifying your kingdom potential. I'm working on a course explaining how the grace of God transforms your life. And so if you're interested in any of that, reach out to me and let's start a conversation. And you and me, you and me, you and me, just two people. It just takes two people agreeing on earth for Jesus to do something. You and me, let's work together on fixing these things that are wrong. And let's turn this around so that Jesus, Christianity, can win the war against this evil world system. And we can have the influence on our culture we were meant to have. And we can do what Jesus asked us to do, and that's go and disciple the nations. So I hope these thoughts are helpful. Much love from my home to yours. Have a fantastic week.